Yuval Noah Harari, a historian, takes the reader on a journey through major events and catastrophes in history and examines the beliefs that humans have held collectively and how those beliefs have shaped individuals, societies, and nations. By exploring various links between science, the human experience, religion and politics throughout history, and technology, Harari shares a number of plausible possibilities for the future of Homo sapiens, ranging from the advent of biologically enhanced superhumans and the rise of higher inequality, to the takeover of AI and emergence of a useless, unemployable human race that will have to search for new meaning in life, alongside systems and political structures which will have to undergo major changes to try and keep up. Full of likely possibilities. While not attempting to make a full-blown prediction, this book asks its readers to discuss humankind's current problems and consider how we can change our future. Questions this book answers. 1. How did the human species conquer the planet? 2. What religious and political movements have changed the way humans live? 3. How will the way humans live change once biotechnology, built to enhance the human brain and body, becomes more mainstream, or at least available to the rich? 4. Will the human experience, human emotions, and humans, in general, be necessary in a world run by AI and technology that the human brain cannot fully comprehend? Over the last century, developments were made in economics, technology, and politics that have changed the world as humans know it. In ancient, medieval, and even 20th century history, starvation, epidemics, and war were much more frequent. While people still go hungry daily, very few people starve to death around the world, whereas famine used to be an incredible fear for people and governments worldwide. While disease outbreaks still occur, like Ebola in 2014, they are incomparable to the epidemics that humans faced in previous millennia. Moreover, they're not spreading as far and wide, killing tens of millions of people, on the scale of the Black Plague or the Spanish flu, thanks to developments in medical technology and the quick reaction of medical organizations like WHO. Modern medicine and technology often focus on extending human life. Influential scientists and leaders have publicly shared their desire to fight death. Genetic engineering and regenerative medicine are making great strides to upgrade humans, keeping people healthier for longer. But living until the age of 150 would mean that many human traditions and habits we know today would have to evolve. And how would nations change if authoritarian politicians lived decades longer? If you look at all of the animal species in the world, humans have already become gods. There is evidence to suggest that in the early days, hunter-gatherers didn't believe in any separation between humans and other animals. Enter the agricultural revolution, where farming led to the suffering and mass extinction of animals and created the concept of domesticated animals. Hunter-gatherers weren't aware of how they damaged the ecosystem, farmers were. Their actions, however, were justified by religions that grew and spread after the start of the agricultural revolution. Older animist religions had depicted animals as actors in the play of life, but newer theist religions relegated animals to silent figures in the background. Then came the scientific and industrial revolutions. In the same way that agriculture diminished the role of plants and animals, science diminished the role of gods. While theism was a justification for agricultural practices, industrial farming is done according to the needs and wishes of humans. Gods have been sidelined because science and technology have made man more powerful than the ancient gods. Recently, people have started to criticize the current human attitude toward animals, but as technology is on track to outpace human intelligence and power, it may well be that this attitude is because humans are about to become the newest inferior mammal on Earth. Humans have become the most powerful species on the globe, but does that make a human's life more valuable than that of an elephant? Are the lives of humans from the most powerful countries more valuable than the lives of humans in a poor country? In practice, that's how things have turned out. There are stories that justify the idea that humans are superior, for example, the idea that humans have a soul or that they have a conscious mind. However, it's quite difficult to find a clear definition of the term soul or explain why people think that other animals don't have one. On the other hand, a conscious mind is a more concrete concept, yet consciousness is based on subjective experiences and sensations. Scientists can induce emotions with electrical stimulation of the brain, but it is still far from clear how electrical signals in the brain move to translate into the feeling of anger or sadness. As science has pointed out that animals are sentient beings, so countries and corporations have started to do the same. Unfortunately, that often means that animals are subjected to new lab tests studying emotion. Many of these experiments have shown the same feelings of depression or self-consciousness as humans. We need not look any further than history to see how cooperation has played an important role in human struggles. Organized armies continually surpass the disorganized, and small unified elite groups continually outdo the jumbled masses. Even revolutions are typically run by small organized networks, rather than enormous groups. These groups can then mobilize larger masses of people, as can be seen in a multinational corporation or government. This ability to organize is in itself the key to human power on Earth. It appears that only Homo sapiens are able to cooperate with strangers on a large scale and flexibly. However, knowing the importance of large groups and mass cooperation, it becomes more difficult to say why we honor individual humans as much as we do. Classical economic theories are based on the idea that people are calculated, rational machines. The ultimatum game was an experiment that disproved this idea, showing that humans behave according to social logic, rather than a mathematical one. One of two subjects receives $100 and has to divide it between herself and the other subject. She could keep it all, give it all away, split it 50-50, or in any other way. Most subjects choose to split it 50-50 or give themselves $60 or $70, demonstrating the social element of human behavior. But that's just for two people. What would happen if the same experiment happened with two groups of 1 million people? Human cooperation on a more massive scale is based on the belief of the group in an imagined set of rules. Money is a great example of this. It has value and functions as a system of payment because people believe in its value. If one person stops believing in its value, the monetary system won't suffer, but if entire masses stop accepting or using it, the currency will lose its value. Laws, gods, and nations are other such beliefs that influence mass behavior. This is why humans rule our planet, instead of the lions, tigers, or bears. They can create subjective rules and laws that thrive in the imagination of large groups, helping people create movements or even revolutions. Approximately 5,000 years ago, writing and money were invented by humans, Sumerians, to be exact. This allowed the subjective realities humankind created to become much more complex and far-reaching. Before writing, people relied on their memories, but once writing came into play, it became possible to organize far larger groups of people and create kingdoms. Ruling those kingdoms were pharaohs, who were considered to be gods. These godlike rulers could easily be compared to modern-day personal brands, like celebrities. Celebrities have teams of people doing most of the work for them, but the celebrity's name is in the spotlight, not as hairdressers, lawyers, or agents. Long after stars like Elvis or Michael Jackson die, their legacies live on, thanks to the work of many. Without the ability to write and store information, no one would know precisely how much money Elvis's estate has or remember the terms of his contractual agreements. Writing has allowed people to create longer, more complex stories, much like algorithms. Written records and government documents, including those which were not officially approved, have even changed the course of history, both saving lives and causing legendary mishaps. Finally, the shift to writing changed our culture, making us think in terms of numbers. In schools, we began assigning numerical grades and assigned these numbers a high value, and nowadays students work hard to get higher grades. The student who says the 45 she received on a chemistry exam is just a number probably isn't going to excel in her dream career as a doctor. That's why numbers, scripture, records, and documentation, whether legitimate or falsified, have an authority in our world. And they have helped large groups of humans cooperate much more smoothly. Belief in gods has advanced society in many ways. Great structures were built around the world because humans believed. We could look at nations the same way. Belief in the advancement of a human's nation has pushed humankind to reach greater and greater goals. Religion, however, doesn't stop at a belief in God. Religions are created by humans and give humans a set of immutable moral laws to follow. While followers of certain modern religions, like communism, don't want to refer to their set of laws as a religion due to the association of religion with the spiritual world, these systems are nonetheless a set of guiding laws that humans should obey. Having defined religion in this broader sense, we can look at how science and religion work side by side. Some say the two are opponents, one fighting against the other. Perhaps science undermines a religious belief, but at other times religion helps put a scientific finding into context. Others say science and religion are entirely separate and do not meet. But it's not always easy to separate ethical judgments from factual statements. It is often said that history has been a continual struggle between religion and science and that both are interested in finding truth. However, in practice, neither one is really interested doing that, which is why they have been able to coexist quite peacefully. Religion sets out to create order and create social structure, while science is all about power, whether it's curing an illness or winning a war. It would be wiser to look at modern history as creating a pact between science and the religion called humanism. Modernity could be summed up as a deal that allows humans to trade meaning in return for power. In earlier times, when humans turned more often to the gods or the laws of nature, they believed their existence was all part of a cosmic plan. That's what gave humans meaning. Today, however, we subscribe to the idea that shit happens. Yet, if we put in the effort, we have the power to do whatever we please. Modern humans have pursued power via scientific developments and economic growth. Typically, it's difficult for us to imagine growth. We often see the economy as a pie. Someone gets a bigger slice while others get a tiny one. This explains why we now believe growth is a necessity. Economic growth means more people can keep their slice of pie intact while others can also have a bigger slice. It helps humans avoid the unpleasant need to make difficult decisions when divvying up the economic pie. Growth has become somewhat of an obsession in many places, and we generally believe that free market capitalism, in one form or another, is the key to ensuring long-term growth. We have incredible resources that allow us to grow, but there is one thing standing in the way of the success of the modern economy. Humans must find a way to prevent a total ecological breakdown. This would cause the economy to collapse, political systems to dive into chaos, and it might even threaten civilization altogether. Humans agreed to give up meaning to life in exchange for power, but we are still free to look for and find meaning. And we haven't stopped trying. More and more, we look inward to human feelings to create meaning. We look at our personal experiences, and humanist belief has told us that we ourselves are the source of meaning. We look inward to decide who to vote for, how to manage our money, and for other social and political decisions. This sort of thinking would have looked crazy in the Middle Ages when authority came from above. Humanism has changed the way we look at art, asking people to consider what they find beautiful, and education, asking students to think for themselves. And humans are firmly at the center of the free market, too. The customer decides what they want and don't want, which shapes every aspect of the modern economy. There isn't a singular view of humanism, but rather several conflicting viewpoints: liberal, socialist, and evolutionary humanism. Liberals tend to focus on self-exploration, individual uniqueness, or the uniqueness of an individual's nation. Socialist humanism says liberals focus too much on individual feelings, rather than what others experience. Evolutionary humanism lauds conflict as a means of natural selection, which in turn drives evolution forward. Now, in the 21st century, liberalism is the dominant view, and traditional religions and academics have found no viable alternative. However, when artificial intelligence and genetic engineering are developed and perfected, liberalism may become obsolete, dragging democracy and free markets down with it. Liberalism believes in human free will and values individual freedom as a result. However, instead of discovering souls and free wills and selves, scientists have found that genes and hormones and neurons rule human reality. The brain's processes govern our decisions, and the human brain is divided into two hemispheres, each with different emotional and cognitive activities. One experiment tested people as they put their hands in cold water, first at 14 degrees Celsius for 60 seconds. Next, they put their hands in for a longer time, but the water's temperature was raised by 1 degree during this process, without the subjects knowing. The subjects were asked to repeat one part of the experiment, and 80% chose to repeat the longer part. This showed that people have an experiencing self, which understands that sticking your hand in cold water for longer is worse. However, this experiencing self doesn't seem to remember much. That's where our other self, a narrating self, comes in to tell stories based on memorable peak moments and final results. In the cold water experiment, the narrating self essentially remembers an average of the moments and the very last moment, which, in the longer part of the experiment, wasn't so terrible. That key moment explains why so many subjects chose to dip their hand in the water again for the longer period of time. It's the same principle that pediatricians use, giving their patients a lollipop after administering an entirely unpleasant injection. The child's narrating self remembers that he went to the doctor, but those last sweet minutes become more memorable than the painful experience beforehand. And so, humans, corporations, and governments subscribe to fantasy narratives, which give meaning to a given situation, justifying the suffering involved. In this way, science undermines liberalism, stating that humans are just a system of biochemical algorithms and free will is just a story. There are three distinct threats to the liberal beliefs that guide modern civilization. The first is that technology will develop to a level that renders humans useless in both economic and military terms. As artificial intelligence outperforms humans, we won't be needed in the same way, leading some economists to predict that an entirely useless class of humans will emerge. Technology is already doing better than humans at some jobs, and one could argue that no job is safe. People argue that some jobs just need a human touch, but when technology is better than humans at detecting human emotion, how will this argument fare? The next question is how society will handle so many useless people. Now people spend the early part of their lives learning so they can later work. This system, which is at the core of modern civilization, will be entirely unnecessary. Perhaps new professions will appear, but most humans will need to engage emotionally and find meaning somewhere other than in the workplace. The second threat is that the system will find value in groups of humans, but the value of the unique individual will die out. The system will still require humans, but once technology understands humans better than they understand themselves, the system will be the decision maker. Humanity won't have the freedom or authority that it has enjoyed in a liberal society. With wearable technology tracking our every biological move and reaction, the possibility doesn't feel far off. In the field of medicine, computer algorithms are already outperforming doctors, and in medicine, any improvement is a positive thing. However, if technology looks at humans as purely biochemical systems, the idea of the individual may become obsolete. Add in the data that we give to companies like Google, and predictions, even in medicine, become even more accurate. If we search for headache or message our friend about a cough, Google sees that. If they see that hundreds of other people in the same city are complaining of symptoms, the corporation will know about an outbreak far before the city's doctors. Apps and companies already have an incredible amount of data about us, and it might just be that our data is the most valuable thing humans have to offer in this day and age. The third threat is that the system will value certain unique and upgraded individuals who make up a superhuman elite. As medicine shifts to upgrading humans, elite classes who can afford such procedures may split into a class of upgraded superhumans, leaving the masses of useless humans behind. The question is what new ideologies will guide a society that is even more unequal than we can imagine today. When technology gains more power than humans, humankind may turn to technology in order to find peace, happiness, or even immortality. Techno-humanism is the more conservative religion, which still contains humanist values. It says that Homo sapiens will no longer be relevant in the future, but that we should use technology to create a superior human, Homo Deus. This new species will still have human features but will have upgraded mental and physical capabilities, allowing it to keep up with technological counterparts. While today we still know very little about how mental states work, there may be risks involved in trying to alter the human mental state in the effort to upgrade our species. Another threat is that humanism hinges on the human will, and so does techno-humanism, but technological progress emphasizes controlling the inner voice. If technology can control will, making it a product, in essence, the sacred element of human will may be lost. The data religion or dataism says the universe is made up of data flows. It says that the laws of mathematics apply to biochemical algorithms in the same way that they apply to electronic algorithms. While humans can take data and turn it into information, knowledge, and wisdom, our brains cannot keep up with the mountains of data that is available today. As data increases further in both speed and volume, traditional political structures may well disappear, unable to process this data fast enough. That aligns with many political collapses in history. When governments can't keep up with new technological developments, they fall out of favor time and time again. Politics now isn't focusing many resources on artificial intelligence and biotechnology, yet these might change our societies and economies sooner than we all think. Data missionaries believe that to improve life as we know it, we need to set data free, achieving full freedom of information. This requires that we give up privacy altogether. Faster data processing means faster decision-making, and every human action and interaction is a part of the great data flow. Some people are already more than willing to be a part of it. One thing is for sure, nobody can predict the future. However, as humanity starts to revolve around data and data outperforms humankind, human experiences may be reduced to sentimental junk, simply an ancient biochemical algorithm. The rise of machine learning will allow algorithms to continually develop without human intervention. As these machines are able to make more and more decisions, what's to say they won't set humans aside altogether? Or, even if humans are allowed to continue living, it's quite plausible that humankind simply becomes irrelevant. With human health and happiness ultimately becoming a low priority, we may be on a path to join all of the other species in the animal kingdom, an inferior species.